a medium frame. It's hot today, so there's almost nothing better. Hello, welcome back to Sage and Stone Homestead. My name is Heather. So if you've been following the channel for the last couple of years, you may not even realize, if you've been following closely, that I am a beekeeper. And that's because really for the past couple of years I've been more of a bee haver, where I've just had bees on the property and I didn't really keep them. I haven't done a lot with them in the last couple of years. And there's a few reasons for that. One of the main reasons is I was having a hard time as far as my strength goes in lifting some of the boxes, especially when they got full of honey. A lot of times honey boxes can be 50 to 100 pounds, especially when they're full of honey. And this time of year, that's what we've got. We are entering into August, and a lot of places, this is what's called the summer dearth. A dearth period when it comes to beekeeping is when there's not a lot of available resources for the bees, like not a lot of nectar, not a lot of pollen. The bees are kind of scraping by until we really get into fall, where there's a lot of goldenrod and asters and that kind of thing. We don't really experience a dearth period in my neck of the woods, and that's because we do live in the middle of a lot of agriculture, and there's a lot of soybean fields around here. The soy that's grown around here has a purple flower, and I guess that that is the one that is a major nectar producer, and our honeybees apparently get a lot of nectar from it. We do have a heat advisory today, so I cannot be out at the bees for long, but I need to get in there. I can't keep making excuses to not get in the bee boxes, so we're gonna get in there today and hopefully take off a little bit of honey. And I do have some drawn comb here, some comb that the bees already have created into honeycomb, but there's no honey in it. So I'll be able to replace the frames that I take, and they'll be able to fill them up immediately. My camera isn't super well known for tolerating the heat well, especially out in the bee yard. We do have a little bit of a breeze today, so I'm hoping that the camera hangs out with us for the duration. And I don't have very many colonies right now. I only have 3. 2 of them are quite small, so we may only be able to get honey off of 1, but that's fine. Any kind of surplus honey that we can get, we're very appreciative of. I think I'm good. Let's go. Oh yeah. These guys look like they've had an increase in population. Unfortunately, the guard bees are on to me already, so I was hoping to go into the colonies today without lighting the smoker, but sometimes heat can set the bees off, makes them a little bit irritated. These long Langstroth hives were built so that I can have a little bit of an easier time keeping the bees. Looks like I need to do something about these ants, because they're literally making an ant colony inside my insulation. This colony, the last time I was in it, was pretty small. It looked like they were trying to make a new queen, so I just want to make sure that they're well on their way to that goal. I don't know if you can tell on the screen right now, but that's the supersedure cell that I saw in here last time, where it looked like they were trying to create a new queen in there. It looks to me like that cell is dry, and you know, it doesn't really look like a queen came out of there. So there's a lot of young brood on this frame, kind of where it looks like there's empty cells. I can see eggs, so it looks like they have a queen, whether it be their previous queen or their new one. It was over 3 weeks ago that I was last in this hive, so if they were going to make a new queen, they would have by now. And everything looks really good. So I'm just gonna button them back up. That's really all I needed in this colony. They don't have any, you know, surplus honey for me to take today. They're a brand new swarm that just took up residence this year. Over here is another long Langstroth hive, and this is a much bigger colony. You can see we've got a lot of bees on all 3 landing boards over here. And this is the colony that we'll probably get honey off of today. Oh, wow. Oh, that's interesting. It looks like these bees have chewed through the fabric cover here for some reason. I didn't know they would do that. But this is the side where I believe is going to have the most honey. So I'm going to peel this side back first. Can I see what you have going on in there? So these boxes are built to hold deep frames. This is a medium frame, so what the bees have done is started drawing out comb on the bottom of these frames here to fill up the space, which I expected them to do. You can see there's a rainbow shape on this particular frame. The part that's dark at the top is honey, but those open cells in there, that's brood comb. So there are some baby bees in there, but a lot of this comb is empty. So this is open laying space for the queen. I don't see eggs in there right now. This is gonna go back. These bees are nice and calm. So I'm gonna bet that their queen is absolutely fine. See the comb that they've drawn down there? It does look like they have a swarm cell going on down at the bottom, which is dry. That surprises me a little bit to see. But again, there are some baby bees down there. Not many, and lots of empty cells. Let's see what's going on all the way at the end here. Now these frames, when I moved the bees in here, they did have honey in them pretty much completely. So it looks like they've moved around some honey. They might be using some of the honey that was in here to make some of that new comb, which makes sense. All right, here we go. This one, that's a frame of honey right there. All capped. You can see I've accidentally broken open some of it right there. The frame right next to it looks to be fully capped honey as well. We'll take that. This is a deeper frame that I had along the outside. Quite a bit of honey on this one, but there's still some work to be done. I don't really want to be removing any open celled honey because that could easily have honey in it that's not fully cured. The bees will cover it up once it's fully cured. Same thing with this one. They've got a lot of open cells, so I'm gonna leave this in there for them. This side is covered. So what I'm actually going to do, instead of disturbing the brood nest of the queen, is put my empty frames on the other side where it is just honey and no brood, and the bees will be able to fill that up. See, this is what I have to go in there. It's fully drawn. This was extracted in the last year, maybe the year prior. So there's places to put things, whether they want to put baby bees or nectar in there. They can choose. I do not have queen excluders in my long hives. This one here. I want to take these with me, but I don't want to take the bees, so I'm just going to shake them off. There we go. And I'm going to assume, because we had brood starting right about here, that they've got brood all the way down, and so I don't really need to see further. One thing that I do somewhat want to see is day-old egg. Over here, I want to make sure that they do have a queen. I believe they do because of their temperament. Usually queenless bees are quite hot, as they say. They can be pretty aggressive, and even with me shaking them, I don't have bees in my face, so they probably have a queen. They sound like they have a queen. They have a nice low hum. There we go. But I'm just gonna check a couple frames. Hello. One thing I'm really liking about this long type of beekeeping is I only have to open up the hive a little bit to check the frames that I want to check, and the rest of the frames can remain covered so that the bees are not disturbed on those frames. And obviously you can tell that I'm not having to pick up anything super heavy. That's very helpful. Oof, there we go. There's a bee here with lots of pollen on her pollen basket. There's actually quite a lot of pollen in here. I see empty cells on this frame where there should be baby bees but aren't. So I'm gonna pull out another one. What I'm gonna guess possibly happened is that we had either a swarm or a supersedure with this colony, and they have since created a new queen, but maybe she hasn't had a chance to become mated yet, so she hasn't been able to lay eggs. So I'll have to check these guys again in about a week, just to make sure she's come back from her mating flight. But I'm gonna pull, all right, there's a younger breed on this. Oh yeah, we've got eggs on this frame. They have a queen. She's got plenty of space to lay, so they might have just been practicing with that queen cell that we saw, because they've got a queen. She seems to be doing very well. She's got a nice calm temperament because her workers are lovely to work with. I like this. I love working with nice calm bees. I have had some crazy ones in the past. Get you guys covered right back up. Simple as that. Watch out. The third colony that I have is right over here. I am going to leave them alone. They are going in their hive with their pollen baskets full, which usually means they have baby bees in there that they're feeding. And they wouldn't be feeding baby bees if they didn't have a queen to make them. So these guys are very likely okay. Right now what they're doing is called bearding. It's hot today. So in order to create more airflow inside the box itself, some of the bees have exited to the front of the hive, and they are creating a nice air conditioning system in there, and everything is a-okay. I'm sure of it. Definitely a hot one out there, but start to finish with this video with me getting dressed and looking in those colonies is less than 40 minutes, which is awesome. In the past, I've had up to about 8 colonies to manage in the tall Langstroth boxes, and that was a lot harder for me to deal with even on like a monthly basis. The honeybees are not the only thing that we have going on our farm, and it just so happens that the busiest time for beekeeping is also the busiest time for things like the garden. And so in previous years, the garden has really just kind of taken the top spot in my mind, and the bees were sort of the low end, and being that they don't really need me to live and survive, not really. I just sort of let the bees be, if you will, and I do need to check them for mites at some point. I do need to possibly treat them for mites at some point, but the middle of the hot summer is not the time for that. So let's get a closer look at this honey. It's not a lot, but it's some. There it is. So this honey very likely could have been on this colony for more than a year. I know with that particular colony that they went into winter with lots of honey on top. I know that when I opened them up in very early spring, their entire top box was full of honey. And I know that when I moved them over into the long hive, that top box was pretty much solid honey. And so they've packed away more than they need for at least a year now, so I don't feel bad taking this, especially because we've got lots of clover out there. Like I said, the soy is starting to bloom now. There's actually quite a few fields that were essentially succession planted, so the field that's blooming now, when that isn't blooming, there'll be another field, you know, within 2-3 miles that will be blooming, and the bees will have lots of nectar. This is definitely one of those times where I wish you could have smell-o-vision, especially because it's such a warm day today. The wax, ugh. It's like honey and beeswax mixed together, because, I mean, that's what this is. There's almost nothing better. So in the past, what I have been able to get off of a medium frame like this is about 4 pounds of honey, which equals about a quart. So there'll be a pint of honey on this side and a pint of honey on this side. So with these 2 small frames, we have half a gallon of honey. And my family and I, yeah, we're beekeepers, but we don't necessarily go through a whole ton of honey. I'm trying to be a little bit better about that. I've been trying for a couple of years, but hey, I'm gonna keep trying, and I think that the long hives are gonna make beekeeping a lot easier.